In the prime of his life, Rubin "Hurricane" Carter was unstoppable. A powerful force in the boxing ring, his punches were as quick as lightning, his spirit as fierce as a storm. His eyes were set on the middleweight title, and his dreams seemed just within reach. But outside the ring, Carter was about to face a fight he could never have imagined. A battle not with gloves, but with injustice. On a warm summer night in June 1966, everything changed. Shots rang out at the Lafayette Bar and Grill in Paterson, New Jersey. 3 innocent people lost their lives. The town was shaken. Panic set in, and the police were desperate for answers. Hours later, as Rubin Carter and his friend John Artis drove through the dark streets, they were pulled over. They had no idea that this routine stop would be the beginning of a nightmare that would steal nearly 2 decades of Carter's life. The police arrested Carter and Artis, accusing them of the brutal murders. But there was no physical evidence, no fingerprints, no weapon linking them to the crime. In fact, the only witnesses initially couldn't even identify Carter or Artis as the killers. But that didn't stop the authorities. 2 petty criminals came forward, claiming they had seen Carter and Artis fleeing the scene. They later admitted they had lied to save themselves from legal trouble. Yet, those lies were enough to convict Carter. In 1967, Rubin Carter, once a hero in the ring, was sentenced to life in prison. His dreams were crushed, the lights of the boxing world dimmed. But inside, Carter's fire was not extinguished. He wasn't just fighting for his freedom. He was fighting for his very life. From the cold, gray walls of his prison cell, Carter began his own fight. He wrote The 16th Round, a heartfelt memoir about his life, his innocence, and his battle against the system that had wrongly imprisoned him. His words weren't just pages. They were cries for justice, for someone, anyone, to hear the truth. And people listened. His story touched hearts across the nation, even reaching the ears of celebrities and activists. But the wheels of justice turned slowly. In 1974, Carter was granted a retrial. His supporters were hopeful. This was it, the moment that could set him free. But again, the jury convicted him. Despite witnesses admitting they had lied, despite all the inconsistencies in the prosecution's case, Carter was sent back to his cell. Another punch, another knockdown. Yet Carter didn't stay down. He couldn't. Hope came from an unexpected place. A young man named Lesra Martin, a bright student from Canada who had read Carter's memoir and couldn't forget his story. Along with a dedicated group of Canadians, Lesra and his team dug deep into the case, uncovering new evidence that the world had ignored. They worked tirelessly, determined to right the wrong. Finally, in 1985, nearly 20 long, painful years after Carter's arrest, Judge H. Lee Sorokin reviewed the case. He saw what so many others had refused to acknowledge, that Carter's conviction had been poisoned by racial prejudice and prosecutorial misconduct. In a powerful statement, Judge Sorokin declared that Carter's conviction had been based on racism rather than reason, and he overturned the verdict. Rubin Carter was free at last. After almost 2 decades behind bars for a crime he did not commit, Carter walked out of prison. But this was not just the story of a man freed. It was the story of a soul unbroken. Rubin Carter hadn't just survived the system, he had triumphed over it. His life became a beacon of hope for others who were wrongfully convicted. He co-founded Innocence International and spent his remaining years fighting for justice for those who, like him, had been failed by the system. Carter's story is one of resilience, of a man who refused to let darkness swallow his light. His fight wasn't just for freedom, it was for the truth, for the right to reclaim the life that had been stolen from him. Rubin "Hurricane" Carter was a fighter, not just in the ring, but in every sense of the word. He taught the world that even when the odds seem impossible, you must keep fighting, keep standing, and never give up. His story reminds us that justice, no matter how long it takes, can prevail. In memory of Rubin "Hurricane" Carter, 1937 to 2014, a man who fought, fell, and rose again. Thank you for joining us for this powerful story of hope, courage, and the enduring pursuit of justice. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire and remind us that even in the darkest of times, there is always light.